Listen, Bill, welcome. You've done this before. Good to see you back. Just get situated there and then introduce yourself and give us your testimony.
I would ask that you receive these materials before I speak and to make my 2 minutes as clear as possible.
No problem.
Thank you.
I normally give it to the jury after I speak, but I'm sure you know what you're doing, so go ahead.
It takes precision to get it in 2 minutes. So. Thank you very much. My name is Sheila Hemphill with Texas Right to Know, and I'm for this bill. I would like to direct you to your handout first. On December 7th, 2020, the Texas Health and Human Services had a hearing regarding COVID. At minute marker 2:49:45, Imelda Garcia, Associate Commissioner of DSHA, stated, quote, "In Texas, receiving the COVID-19 vaccine is completely voluntary, and we want to make sure everyone knows that. Because it's licensed under emergency use authorization, it cannot be mandated by anyone." My statement is, where is DSHS giving this notice out to these employers who are trying to mandate this? Emergency use authorization is not FDA approval. That is why they're using social media to market it. You cannot advertise a drug for claims if it's not FDA approved. At the top of this, in 2011, the Supreme Court case ruled that vaccines are unavoidably unsafe. So every physician coming here stating it's safe and effective should be turned into the Texas Medical Board for false, misleading, and deceptive comments, because that information is contrary to our supreme law of the land. At the bottom of this, you will notice a screenshot that I got on December 15th. Are there other vaccines that can help prevent getting COVID-19? Quote, CDC, December 15th, there are currently no available vaccines that will prevent COVID-19. These vaccines do not prevent, nor do they prevent you from spreading it to others. Senator Lucio, you have been, I would say the amount of deception that is around this entire pandemic event is so immense. I would declare the United States a captive nation to the deception of World Health Organization, the NIH, and various different entities that are using false experimental methods for experimental drugs. In this poster, these are not vaccines like you've heard about. This is new technology. They are altering our cells. So instead of exposing bacterial or viral participants to allow our own immune system to develop antibodies, they are literally engineering our cells. These are not vaccines as we've always known them. This is not taking a drug anymore and getting it out of your system. Once you have had it, you are having this gene modification in your system, and it does replicate. It goes on and on. They really don't know how long it goes on. So the moral of the story is there is so much we don't know. There have been no long-term testings. How can we mandate something like this to put people at risk? The amount of reports coming in is immense. Oh, 50%. Oh, wow. Thank you, Lord. That was magnifying time. We have not seen this technology. That doesn't mean it hasn't been tried, and it has failed. In this document, it describes, these are 3D images of the vaccine. I will point you to the publication on January 15, 2021. Fatal neuroinvasion of SARS-CoV-2 mice, done by Boston University School of Medicine. They took 30 transgenic mice, which are mice that have been genetically altered to have our ACE2 receptors on their cells. When they exposed the mice to the inhalation, 6 to 7 days, 28 of the 30 mice were dead. In 14 days, all the mice were dead. On autopsy, they had spongiform encephalitis, which is mad cow disease. So this information is incredibly scary. I've been at this every week trying to get the state of Texas to come and defend us. Investigate this virus and do not mandate this experimental procedure on us.
Ms. Hemphill, thank you for your testimony. Senators, do you have any questions? Senator Hall.
Yeah. What can you tell us about the PCR test and its efficacy? It's been the cornerstone of what's been used for testing. It's not what we've been using here in the Capitol. What can you tell us?
Yes, sir. PCR testing detects DNA. In fact, when this first started, the number of cycles that you run these materials through picks up little minute particulates of the genome. The coronavirus is part of the cold virus. So if you strain it out small enough, you're going to find presence of coronavirus in everybody. And so therefore, just recently, actually after the election and after some of these vaccines started coming in, the WHO changed the number of cycles down from 40 to 30. So when Pfizer states that they're 95% efficacy, they're using PCR testing to make that evaluation. Not how many antibodies are being stimulated, not what kind of T cell response it has. They are doing PCR testing. It's the great tool, wrong for this use.
I believe Florida's even lowering their cycles.
Sir?
Florida, haven't they lowered their cycles also?
I'm not familiar. The last I heard is WHO was even aggregating. Now, what does that mean? That means what was picking up this vast amount of COVID positive patients was elevated. When they calibrate to an accuracy number of cycles, the numbers have gone down. Now, guess who's getting credit for that number of negative tests or lack of positive tests? The vaccines. Now, what you need to realize that these vaccine programs rolled out in the UK, Brazil, and South Africa. Where are we hearing about mutations happening? UK, South Africa, and Brazil. March 10th of 2020, the House had their COVID hearing. Right then, I told them, I said, these antibodies have to attach to a spike protein like a Lego piece. If you have a virus, it's looking for a triangle, that by the time the vaccines get out, you have antibodies looking for triangles, and now the spike protein looks like an oval. It's changed, it's mutated.
Okay. One other question is, we talked a little bit earlier about shedding. What can you tell us about the problem of shedding with the vaccine?
The aspect of shedding is really something that's really, in normal, the term shedding is when you have a viral condition like polio, that the live virus can still show up, say in fecal matter, and pass on to people who've not been vaccinated. So in a shedding situation, we are seeing reports that the spike protein is an architectural structure. It is showing up with people's saliva, in their sweat. That is what they're referring to as shedding. Now, you may have heard about this recent report of people just being, women in the vicinity of individuals who have been vaccinated. Mm-hmm. These women have gone through, many of them have gone through menopause and not had a cycle in months or decades. They are starting to bleed. This is because there are components in the placental matter called syncytin that is being impacted by this spike protein. Okay, so we don't really know what all this virus by itself is doing, but you need to realize person to person would have been given the virus. These vaccines are altering the function of your cells to produce a foreign protein from your own cells.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you. You do a lot of hard work in this. Thank you.
You know, Senator Lucio, you were asking about what the rights of people are and for employment. This is so beyond employment. This is about really survival. Because when you have a component that's not even being talked about because it's too scary to talk about, that I have come to this building to get it from a top-down approach of how to deal with the blood clots that are being reported. These are my ask of DSHS, to give public education about blood clots.
Well, thank you for this, Ms. Hemphill. Any questions for Ms. Hemphill? Thanks for your testimony. Thanks for the documentation you shared with us.
Thank you.
The chair now calls